Welcome to the Double Doinkers with Willie J and Nick Meyer. We are a fantasy football podcast. This week we bring you hot takes, risers, fallers, and all that stuff in between. It's the last week before the regular season. So welcome in, everybody. It is, like I said, the last week before the regular season, so we got your hosts, Nick, Willie J. We're both very excited for the season to start.
Too excited.
We know that last week was a big draft weekend for a lot of people. So if you've already drafted and you're listening to this, thank you. Also, if you haven't, you got one more week. Get ready. This is it. Crunch time. Speaking of already drafted, Willie, I heard you already drafted.
I drafted last weekend. I had an all-day draft on Saturday and then a barbecue with my coworkers on Sunday. So in total, I probably spent a solid 5 or 6 hours of my life drafting last weekend because our my friend group draft, we had this whole big board, like printed out, labeled players' names, and this huge board, and we had 5 minutes between each pick, and we're a very, very competitive league, so we definitely stretched out the whole time.
That's fun.
It is so fun, and I think I did okay for picking third overall. Not a huge fan of my team, honestly. And my league, not only is it competitive, but we also have keepers. So there's a lot of first round great players that people took in later rounds in the past that they just have for at least 3 years. So I ended up reaching on Amari Hampton in the second round, which is
there you go.
I told myself I wouldn't do it, and then as it got closer,
day of it's a little different.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, I'm doing it. It was like either him or Mike Evans, but I didn't want to risk, Hampton not being there when it came back to me. So,
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I've been thinking a lot about that and some of those 2-3 round picks. In my league of record, the one I care about the most, I've got pick 6, and I'm like, oh man, it feels like I'm gonna have to reach no matter what.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's an interesting place this year. I mean, personally, I love 11 or 12 this year, most years, but really this year. And I don't know. I'm kind of a hypocrite, and I think maybe you do this too, or other listeners do this too. But we have a whole strategy. Like we still draft the same players that we like, but we have a whole strategy. And then the day of, sometimes it feels like we get excited about a specific player on the board, and we just kind of switch things up last minute, even if it's a player we already talked about or liked. So like for me, I took Bo Nix in the 7th round, I think, because he was there, and I wanted to fade quarterback, wait, but he was there, and the guy before me, Sage, took Baker Mayfield. So I was like, quarterbacks are going to go. I got to take Bo Nix. And I'm excited.
Yeah. I don't. Well, that's the thing. ADP would just be, we would be just drafting against static bots if we all went by exactly what the plan is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And when you get there in the moment of fantasy football, unless you are full in lost in the sauce gambling, is just it's fun. You want to win because winning is fun, but for me, again, I think I've talked about this a lot, is that I want players that I enjoy watching, and that chooses so much of my draft strategy. And I know that is not necessarily the most competitive strategy all the time, but it is the most maximal fun strategy for fantasy football, because if I have to watch the Chiefs every week, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key, is finding that happy medium between players that, doing the research and finding players that you do really like, but are also players on teams that you also want to watch.
Yeah.
I was going to say, having said that, there was a couple players I took.
Let me know.
Okay, so one I didn't reach based on ADP, but I took Roma Dunze, even though I've been talking down the Bears offense. Just nobody else excited me on the board, and I was like, all right, we'll go for it. So that's a great example of what you're talking about.
You gotta get your homer pick in.
You gotta get the homer pick. And 11th or 12th round, I regret doing this already. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I took Jaden Reed, who
I saw that on your team, and I was like, you actually did that, man.
I was so negative on him. And what happened is I just couldn't decide, and I was running out of time. And I just briefly looked at his stats from last year and saw he had a few games over 20 points. And I was like, oh, it could happen again. And my brain was just like, take him. Yeah.
So I was in on Jaden Reed until this whole vague injury thing. So I still think that there's a chance that this turns out really well for you.
Because he slipped. He did slip. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so scared of that injury right now that I'm a little out. But 11th round Jaden Reed, I love it personally because there's just nothing but upside, and you can cut him without feeling too bad.
Yeah, exactly. And he was just before, like when we were talking about the Packers receivers, I feel like he was going in the 7th or 8th at some points, and that was too much for me. So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
good value there, but just a weird mind. Like where I don't know where my mind was.
That's totally fair. Yeah, all of my main drafts happen this upcoming weekend. I'm getting on an Amtrak, a 12-hour ride, and then
Woo.
gonna show up, do 3 drafts in one day, and then the next day get back on Amtrak and head back
Oh
up.
yeah, oh
I'm
yeah,
stoked. I love it. Just this is the sort of things you got to make it special. Why not give yourself another quasi holiday? I tell this to my family, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Is that like this draft season and the draft day in particular? It's just like it's its own holiday. I look forward to this as much as I look forward to any holiday during the year, which is probably insane to my family. But
I get it though, because what happened is I drafted with all my best friends from college, and this was the first time we'd all been in the same room. Like all 12 of us made it. It was the first time we'd been in the same room together in like since our friend's wedding a few years ago. And before that, it was like in college maybe at one point, but like it was like a total reunion. I had a friend come up from California, shout out Colin, and just from all over the state. It was just like it was like a friendsgiving in a sense.
yeah, it's exciting. That's awesome. And like if you're out there listening to this and you're like, wow, I wish I had that. You have to work at it. It wasn't something that like this level of excitement it wasn't even when I first started. Like me and Willie, I think we both commissioned leagues. This is like a
I
long version of like bringing people in and making them feel a part of it and like giving them a reason to get excited. And now every year they're all excited. It hits a tilting point at some part where they've bought in enough that you can stop working as much. But you do have to work to get to that point.
Yeah, it's hard. And I actually don't commission my league, but in the first year, kind of the first couple of years I was in the league, I was just kind of indifferent. I liked when I won and it was interesting, but it really did take a while for the league itself to like gel in a sense. So yeah, I would say the same thing. Like it might not be easy to have like the tightest knit group league, but once you get some people really invested, they'll build others up and you'll get a good group.
You'll start feeling too the people who aren't invested. And the people who aren't invested will also start feeling the pressure of being invested. This is what happened for me. Is like we had a friend who didn't really care. You know what I mean? Like this is just life. Not everyone cares about football. But this friend who didn't care eventually saw how much everyone else was caring and like offered to step out so someone else could get in. And that's like it's amicable among everyone.
Exactly.
Anyways, this was a complete divergence from anything fantasy related, but that's kind of what this episode is, a complete divergence while we wait for the season to start. Let's get into some news because there has been a lot of news and I think some of it's worth talking about just briefly. Terry McLaurin signed a gigantic deal. Good for him.
Good for him. Good for the Commanders too.
yeah, very good for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels looks a lot better again all of a sudden. It was getting a little dicey.
They weren't supplementing his absence at all. So I feel like it had to be inevitable, but like they weren't signing any names that could possibly step up, and they were trading away Brian Robinson. Like there was like losing players. It was, yeah. I'm glad
speaking of which, Brian Robinson went to the 49ers.
Which I personally love, not fantasy wise, but also fantasy wise. I don't know. What are your thoughts? This is one I thought a lot about.
So fantasy wise, it has good potential, but it also muddies waters a little bit. So like, I don't think that Brian Robinson is good enough to exactly steal touches from CMC, but I think he could steal some touchdowns in important situations, which hurts CMC a little bit, not a ton. However, like if you know that if CMC goes down, you have Brian Robinson in the backfield. He doesn't, in my mind, fit the Shanahan system perfectly, but they of course did trade for him, so my mind doesn't matter as much as Shanahan's clearly. But he's like a slower back. Usually they go for speed at the running back. So I am interested, but Brian Robinson's clearly the best handcuff in football now. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and I think he could provide some standalone value. If it was anyone but CMC, I would be very confident he would provide standalone value. But if CMC's clicking on all cylinders, they're not taking him out of that offense.
I could see them definitely like running CMC into the ground, and then later in the season, maybe letting the gas off the brakes, and then using him in the playoffs, like the real playoffs. And what I like about Brian Robinson is I know people like Jordan Mason. I don't hate him on the Vikings. I think they have a great O-line. But I think just as a pure runner, I think that Brian Robinson is a more talented running back than Jordan Mason. And Brian Robinson also has that pass catching upside. So basically, I think this is the best non-CMC running back the Niners have had in a while. and at least in my opinion. I actually like Brian Robinson a lot. I think that he's not the most efficient runner, but he really gets the job done, especially in fantasy.
Well, the Niners have a market cap, or they have like the monopoly on players that got shot before the season started.
Him and Ricky, yeah.
yeah. There were, like Brian got a little bit more radio play for it than Ricky Pearsall did, but Ricky Pearsall got shot in the chest
in broad daylight.
Yeah, Brian Robinson also got shot while trying to stop. I think it was a car jacking.
Yeah, something.
He got shot in the leg, which feels bad for running back, but what do I know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of Commanders news. That brings up the point of like Ja'Cory, Bill, Chris Rodriguez, and Austin Eckler, like all kind of entering this weird murky, like, what do you do with them anymore? I talked about Austin Eckler earlier. I will just bring that up.
Yeah.
If his ADP rises, I don't know how I feel, and I'm sure it has. But if it stays kind of low, I think I might be in on Austin Eckler.
He's become my favorite. Yeah, I was really hyped up about Brian Robinson just because, based on his skill set, which is similar in some ways to Eckler's, I was excited about the Commanders' offense and kind of that quasi James Cook role where you have the lead running back on an elite offense just getting so many goal line touchdowns and finishing as an overall RB1 because of that. But now we get to the point where there's like you said, there's that level of murkiness, especially with we've seen Chris Rodriguez get a lot more play time in the preseason and then just getting hyped up by the coaches. So I think the best value is probably taking Chris Rodriguez with your last pick. But I do like Eckler over Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Bill's fun, but
he's fun. But I have a guy, Max, in my league. He took him in the 6th round.
So, it's scary. Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, it's a risk. I do
want to say. Go on.
I was going to say I do think I did shout out Krosky-Merritt in one of our first episodes, so I'm proud of that.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So Eckler for me, he falls in that like if he's at 109, so that's 10th round, almost 11th. If he's around there, I can see picking him up as a like lack of better options in that range. I don't necessarily. It still scares me, but the Commanders' backfield has gotten a lot more murky.
Yeah. What's Eckler's floor though? I wonder about that because I feel like he has a safe enough floor.
So I can't remember the stats that I had popped out at you back when I talked about him as a potential sleeper target because he had some pretty solid games last year, but I think his disappearing act games were simply just because Brian Robinson was getting everything.
Yeah.
So if Austin Eckler is the one, he's a great receiving running back. He should have, let's say that he's the one. He could have like 3 to 4 receptions per game, which is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And I don't have an exact floor. I would say if he's actually out there, you're looking between 8 and 15 points.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think that I like his floor enough, but I feel like things get a little wild in the last week before, like everyone's drafted. And there's been a lot of risers and fallers. Similar to you go ahead. I was going to mention another team.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing about the Commanders that I want to point out, and you mentioned Chris Rodriguez as your last pick. The coach did very specifically say that he was going to get the goal line touches. So
yes.
that could be very useful just in general. So Chris Rodriguez is a good dart throw. He's as good a dart thrower as anyone in the league at this point.
As far as I'm aware, he's still going undrafted. So,
yeah. As a matter of fact, I have some risers and fallers. Oh, yeah. You know whose name's not showing up? Chris Rodriguez. Which is a little shocking. It makes me question this list. Okay, we will. You had another team you wanted to bring up. Go ahead, throw them out.
Well, actually, this is a segue into what you were kind of talking about with risers and fallers. I wanted to mention the Panthers wide receiver room getting changed up, and I think you and I talked about who the biggest riser in drafts benefiting from this. Well, I'll mention first. So, they released Hunter Renfrow.
Rip.
Don't have to talk about it.
Wait. I need to play the sad song. We don't have it on here. Never mind. Go ahead.
Imaginary violin.
Yeah. I'm very sad about it.
He might get picked up. He could be a practice squad guy. The bigger news, though, is that Adam Thielen got traded to the Vikings. And I think the Panthers got a pretty good return. But all of this is to say that Jalen Coker has shot up ADP.
He's actually currently the highest riser via Draft Shark's market index, which is supposed to be, updated pretty regularly, if not immediately. I can't tell you that for sure. But yeah, he is the highest riser. He went from, part of this is how low he was. He was in the low 200s.
Wow. Okay. See, I think even that's pretty low. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like the 10th, 11th round now. Which is, Jalen Coker's got he's got a skill set to be a 1 in this league now. T-Mac is there, Teteroa McMillan. So he's not gonna be the 1, but he could be a darn good 2.
He could. And yeah, T-Mac, this really does benefit T-Mac the most. I think I like his value. I swear, every single week I've liked him more and more. Even back when we were talking about him in June, when I was kind of like low on him, I really do like your logic. It kind of also ties into what you talk about with a narrative of a top 10 receiver. Like, he is coming in to really boost Bryce Young, and there's that narrative there, and I think he's going to deliver. He's a very exciting pick.
Yeah, and it is this whole entire, like, Bryce Young burned out so hard so fast, right? And he's getting the second shot at redemption. He showed out, and even if it was only in a few games at the end of last season, really.
Yeah.
They're now putting a team around a guy who showed out. And, like, one of the things I heard over and over again with Bryce Young in particular was it's about confidence. It's about confidence. He lost his confidence. He doesn't have fun in the game, et cetera, et cetera. Last year seemed to have given him that back, and his interviews are fantastic, phenomenal. He seems like he's having a good time. So if you think that it was the confidence, you should put your money back in on Bryce Young, and that means T-Mac's going to have a great year because the skill set's there. He's going to do great.
I was reading that now that Thielen is gone, there's not a single wide receiver on the Panthers roster that was there 2 years ago.
That's
wild.
That's wild. I mean, I guess this is one of those rooms that it's okay you've cleared it out.
Yeah, and they did it in such a way that was, methodical. Like, they didn't just completely clean house. They did it over a couple of years. They had the whole offseason to kind of see who was best of Young's, skill sets. I do like this offense quite a bit going into the year, in real life and in fantasy.
There's a few more news. We're jumping back and forth here, but again, this is the episode for doing it. Amari Cooper re-signed on the Raiders, which has to be the most confusing news I've ever seen in my life, emotionally.
Second most. The Raiders also traded for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, this is my fault because I talked so poorly about Kenny Pickett for so many times throughout this offseason that, of course, he was going to come back and end up on the team that I love. That was the only thing that could happen. It was really just karma just coming back and getting me. Lesson learned. Thanks, karma. Thanks a lot. If we see Kenny Pickett in the Raiders field, it's bad news for everybody.
Kenny Karma.
Yeah, Kenny Karma. Yeah, it sucks. I am unhappy about this. But okay, we're going to... Amari Cooper officially now has a picture with the Raiders cap on where he is smiling. And I will tell you that never happened when he was here the first time. So that is new, and that was different. And he looks like a completely different person when he's smiling. I just want to point this out because I don't have a lot of hope for Amari Cooper as far as a fantasy asset. But there is this like, yeah, but what if?
If Geno's having the season that he could have, then Cooper could go off. I read this yesterday, but last year was the most passing yards that Geno's had in a single season, and he did that with the terrible Seahawks O-line. So if Geno really shows out and makes another Pro Bowl and like passes for close to 5,000 yards, like somebody's going to benefit, and that could be Cooper.
And Jacoby's asking for a trade. He's kind of pulling the Jawan Jennings right now, so it wouldn't shock me to see him hurt his hamstring. And I don't want to put that out there in the world, but like it wouldn't shock me if his agent's like, "Hey, man, hurt your hamstring, pull off to the side." You know what I mean? Get your money. And if that happens, then Amari Cooper is almost in this immediate wide receiver 1 role, which is crazy. Who would have thought that he could walk into that?
Even 2 weeks ago, imagine saying that. Yeah.
So like Amari Cooper's not someone I'm gonna draft, but he is someone that like if he comes out week 1 and has a significant role, you should look at that and probably stash him on your bench.
Yeah, highly doubt this will happen, but if I get an Adam Schefter notification that Jacoby Myers is traded in the next week or so, I'm gonna go straight to the waiver wire and pick up Amari Cooper and Deontay Thornton and Jack Besh.
Yeah, because so Deontay Thornton is supposedly the outside starter opposite of Jacoby Myers starting off the season. Now, Amari Cooper might throw a wrench in that, but I doubt it. Thornton, from all reports, has been doing pretty well. And I'll fill you all in. So Besh isn't starting. He is officially listed as the backup to Jacoby.
Okay.
So he's not starting because he is there in case he's the Jacoby replacement, right? So like they have the replacement there already. But Besh also hasn't really. I don't know. He hasn't shown out, so he's a rookie. Has a skill set, but Amari Cooper's done it before. He's been in this league forever. This is where that might really matter because these two receivers are so young, and I don't know that like either of them comes in with the most dominant production profile from college.
They're gonna need that. They're gonna need that veteran there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to pay attention to that scenario because there's Brock Bowers is the wide receiver one on the Raiders. That's pretty much what this points to me. This actually moved Brock Bowers up a little bit for me. Like, yeah, you didn't have to move him up much more, but if Jacoby's asking for a trade and Amari is their receiver coming in, it really makes you think that they see Brock as the wide receiver one.
I agree, and I think I have him a little bit above McBride. It was always 1A, 1B, but I think I have Bowers above McBride for that reason, and also like just remembering and looking over the stats Geno had on the Seahawks. And now it's not necessarily a 1-to-1, but I just forgot that the consistently over about 3 seasons Geno was not just a good quarterback, but he was just throwing the ball so much, and there's reason to believe that that's gonna stay the same even with Ashton Genty.
So what you have with the Raiders, I can give you a little bit more like on this too, is you have Ashton Genty. So the idea is that they're going to run the ball a lot, right? And Chip Kelly loves running the ball.
Oh,
There's two things also though, is that the Raiders offensive line is not very good. It's just not. Like their starting right tackle is DJ Glaze, and he was like, I think 3rd round pick last year. He's okay, not good. Okay,
sounds like a Madden name, yeah.
Yeah, and then like their highly touted rookie last year, Johnson Powers Jackson, JPJ from the Ducks. He got demoted to right guard from center because he couldn't learn the offense. So that's a bad sign too.
Yeah.
So like their O-line's not great. It does give me a little bit of pause about Genty, but I think the volume is going to be there because Chip Kelly's offenses run so fast. They run so many plays. They are always in the top, like if not by a lot, they're in the top 2-3 in plays per game, pace of offense. And that's awesome for fantasy. You want that. That's volume for everybody on an offense.
And a heavy passer like Geno is a great compliment to a running back like Ashton Genty. Yeah.
So it moved Brock Bowers up like impossibly for me to where I almost feel like if I was at the end of the first, I'd be okay taking him there again. And I know that's where he kind of is anyways, but I was out on it. I don't think I'll have the opportunity this year. But like if I was out there and I'm drafting at like the 12 spot, and I love tight ends because there's people out there who do. Yeah, it hurts me a lot less.
I really like the idea of him doing like or someone who's drafting like again like I love 11-12 position. I like the idea of if you're going to be drafting late, take a swing on drafting a Brian Thomas Jr. and a Brock Bowers. Even though they're different positions, they both have that wide receiver kind of one role wrapped up, and they're going to get you the same amount of points. At least I think so.
Yeah. There was this is for the whole season worth of points. Take it what you will. It's not points per game, but Brock Bowers was the wide receiver 9 if you slotted him in to the wide receiver role, but it was like I think right behind Mike Evans.
Okay. And that's over the season, or was that over?
That was over the season, so it's not points per game. Points per game, he drops down significantly, as a lot of players who stayed the whole season healthy do. But for what it's worth, it could be a solid pick either way. Tajay Spears out first 4 weeks at least.
Yeah,
good for Tony Pollard.
I mean, good for my prediction, I guess. Yeah. I think this is good for Spears. I mean, obviously, and Pollard. I think it shows that we have, they have faith in Pollard. They haven't made any moves about signing a new player, and they feel comfortable like resting Tajay Spears because he didn't break anything. They're letting him rest from his calf strain. I mean, obviously, if he can't play, but like I think they're making a confident choice in their run game. It sounds like.
Yeah. I do want to point out now that I'm seeing Tony Pollard's name everywhere. So good on you, Willie, for hitting that first.
Ooh.
And I do no, never mind. I won't. So The Browns have named Dylan Gabriel as their second quarterback. That's not fantasy relevant, but I do want to point out how terrible Shador Sanders did in his last preseason game because it was so bad and hilariously bad.
Didn't he get sacked like 7 times?
And he just like would not throw the ball.
No, he's looking like Justin Fields out there.
He's like hero balling so hard and he couldn't get it out. I think he fumbled twice or something. It was awful.
I'm somewhere Mel Kiper's in shambles. And honestly, I do like this for the Browns and for Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel he just fits that mold of like really solid backup quarterback, and that's valuable to have, I think.
Oh, for sure it is. Otherwise, you end up with Kenny Pickett. Trust me.
Exactly. and honestly, in that defense, I think Aiden O'Connell also fits that mold. He's not great, but he can get the job done. And obviously, they traded for Pickett just because O'Connell's on IR.
He broke his wrist, I think. I feel bad for that kid. He broke everything in the last couple of years. Yeah. Chris Godwin passed his physical. This is a confusing one because that doesn't mean he's going to be back immediately, but they're also not putting him on the PUP to start the season, so he's on the active roster. They did this with him, I think it was 2 years ago, where he was coming back from his ACL tear. And they're like, yeah, keep him active, and then he still didn't play for a few games. Then he immediately re-injured himself. This actually just worries me more about drafting Chris Godwin.
Yeah, especially if it affects his ADP. I mean, if you're still drafting this weekend, I imagine it would shoot up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I cautiously predict that what's going to happen is they're going to ease him into the offense. So maybe he's out week 1 or week 2, but then if he starts week 3, or he'll play week 3 but won't start, kind of thing. Yeah.
Saints have chosen Spencer Rattler as their starting quarterback.
All right.
I'm only gonna laugh at that because I don't know what to do with that news except for just feel bad about it. Feels bad.
I don't want to defend Spencer Rattler because I know that
I'm trying to make you defend Spencer Rattler here.
Well, I will because he was known in high school for like coming across as a jerk in that Netflix special where they were highlighting 5-star recruits. He was recruited as one of the best quarterbacks in the country, so he absolutely has the talent to be not just a great college quarterback, but a starting NFL quarterback. So I like it, the very least. I feel like Kellen Moore has a pretty long leash as a head coach.
Yeah.
So I like that they're also. I predict they're going to be giving Rattler a long leash and letting him actually like get confident in the role, not just like, okay, because the team's already bad. So if he's going to be bad, like give him a few weeks and like just let him see if things can click, like with Bryce Young.
Yeah, I don't hate it necessarily. Spencer Rattler looked really bad last year, but last year the Saints were just a trash organization. I mean, like Dennis Allen was the king of the dumpster. It was all bad. Rashee Rice out 6 games to start the season. Of course, he returns week 7 against the Raiders because that's how these things tend to work. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy here, but
he better avoid gambling and drinking in Vegas. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. This is good news for Rashee Rice. So not exactly, but it's good news in that we have an answer finally, and there's no looming thing over him. We know he's going to be out 6 weeks. This will probably depress his ADP, and if it doesn't, you people are insane. But if it does, that means you could get a value here. I tell you, I hate having people on my bench for 6 weeks that can't play, but I also do know every single time that 7th week shows up, I always go, wow, I wish I had that guy.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe it might depend on, it might be league dependent, but with the IR/reserve spot, can you put suspended players there? Because I think Jordan Addison is on there in my league.
So in ESPN standard IR, I have not been able to.
Okay.
With Sleeper, I don't believe I was able to, but I can't check right away. And then I haven't tried it in any other formats.
Okay, because it would be one thing. I have NFL app, NFL Fantasy. It's my primary, and it would be one thing if he was just injured, but he's been playing the preseason, so we know he's fully healthy, which is good for his value and for as a player. But also, like, there's no like gray area. Like you could put him in the reserve because he's still injured. But yeah,
he's on your bench. He's taking up a bench slot. One thing that I will tell you is pretty funny is at least Draft Sharks says it's updates daily. If this is true, his ADP has risen 3 spots today.
Okay.
So not only did it not go down, but it went up. So he's still in the 5th round, just higher in the 5th round.
I think that's good. I think the fact that it's the first 6 weeks is really good because you want him to be there for your championship week
Yeah,
because he has those boom games.
I
Um,
yeah, it's terrifying to me. I don't think I could take someone in the 5th round is out 6 weeks. That's someone else's game.
yeah,
Which fair enough. If you do it, that's a risk. That's fair. I just think if your team starts off that slow and you have someone on your bench, you're gonna really feel bad about it.
you're gonna have to have confidence in the rest of your team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we already talked about Adam Thielen. Here's an annoying Arthur Smithism that I've heard, kind of busting around because you've got Caleb Johnson, you've got Tyler Warren. That's the wrong Warren. Jalen Warren.
Yeah.
You've got Jalen Warren, and you've got Kenneth Gainwell, which who would have thought you would care, right? But of course, all the camp indications are that that Caleb's going to be way deep on the depth chart, and that Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the third down back.
I'll say this in defense of Kenneth Gainwell. Like we saw him a little bit in Philly, and he wasn't great. And last year, he was the Eagles had him as the backup to Saquon Barkley, and we just didn't see him at all last year because they had Saquon, so there was no need to play him. So the benefit of a doubt, maybe he has gotten a lot better, or maybe he's really shown something in the Smith system. But it's a huge headache. I think this is overtaken the what was the other committee headache? Oh, I think this has overtaken the Packers wide receiver room as the biggest committee headache for me in fantasy.
Yeah, because I don't. So Jalen Warren, I think, has to be at this point the safest pick out of all of them, which is not a name that I want to say. I don't trust Caleb Johnson for one reason. It's Arthur Smith. We've already seen how he seems to feel about rookie running backs with one of the best talents in the world with Bijan. What's he going to do with Caleb Johnson here, who's not their first round draft pick? He's their third round draft pick. I think he really is going to be buried on that depth chart.
I think Caleb Johnson will be like this year's Trey Benson, where he's a third round pick, and there's a lot of hype, but he just doesn't play. It's not that he's bad; he just doesn't play.
This is Arthur Smith. I 100% blaming this on Arthur Smith, not on Caleb by any means. Yeah. Okay, so that was our news segment, our forever long news segment, where we bust out and talked about a lot of other stuff. Let's talk about our hot takes.
Hot takes.
So, Willie, I'm going to let you start off with your actual team at record-based hot takes.
Okay. So I spent a lot of time kind of going back and forth. I spent a lot of time last weekend going through very sicko of me going through each game and making predictions of who will win and just going back. It was anyway, I'm crazy, but I have tweaked it a little bit, but basically I've come to, there's some hot takes in there, but I guess, okay, I'll just run over the AFC, who I think is going to win each division. And this one was a little bit easier for me. I think that it will be Ravens, Bills again. And unfortunately, it was close, but the Travis Kelce engagement news swung the Chiefs to win the division for me because we saw what happened when Josh Allen got engaged to a pop star last year.
It was so bad.
So I'll give it to the Chiefs. And maybe this is a hot take, but I think it will be very close because I love the Texans defense. I just have his gut feeling about Liam Cohen and this team as a whole. And I think the Jaguars will take the South this year.
Okay. So the Jaguars. I don't know that it's a hot take necessarily because I think they seem to be the most improved on paper besides the Titans coming from where they were to now. But the Texans defense is the one thing that I will say is probably the biggest detriment to the Jaguars winning this is because the Texans defense looks so good.
So good. And I say that having to have more faith in the Jags offense and the Texans offense, and it is close for me. I think it comes down to the O-line and then just because I like the Texans receiving core, but the Jags, it's just, I'm really getting excited about it. They actually just traded for Tim Patrick a few hours ago too. So they have 4 great wide receivers, a possibly good tight end, a really solid running back committee, and Liam Cohen. We saw what Liam Cohen did last year. I think one of the players that I've risen the most on in the past week or so is Travis Etienne. Partially because I just remembered that he was RB3 overall just 2 years ago, and now he's in a Cohen system. So I've risen a lot on him, and I think the Jaguars could take it. What are your predictions for AFC?
For the AFC, I think that the Broncos are going to win the AFC West. As much as I hate saying it, but that's where I'm at with it. I do think, like I said, Bo Nix takes that step up, and that's going to be all they need because they were pretty close last year too. Um, I need to pull up my list right now because I'm
The defense of
smart.
the Broncos was great last year. It just has gotten so much better. They signed some 49ers players. They drafted Jade Barron. They didn't lose anybody significant. It's
Hmm.
just it's yeah.
Okay, so I believe the Bills are going to win the AFC East. I don't see. I think there'll be more. It'll be a more competitive season in the AFC East, and I think that'll actually be on the back of the Patriots being better. Um, and potentially the Dolphins staying about where they were last year, 8-9 win team. I would guess probably 8 win team with the Jets being the losers, but maybe not like
Yeah.
4 win team, 5 win team.
I see the Jets and the Dolphins both being around 5 or 6 wins. I'm out on the Dolphins.
I don't blame you for that. I this is gonna be the test of Mike McDaniel and see if he can actually coach a team that doesn't look like they're just all stars on offense at every position.
If McDaniel can get 8 wins out of this Dolphins team, he definitely deserves to stay. That's
Hmm.
that's what I say.
I think if he gets 8 wins though, he might actually get fired. Still, I think they are expecting more.
Yeah, I just yeah.
The AFC North, I expect the Ravens to win. No shocks there. Followed by the Bengals, Steelers, Browns in that order.
Yeah.
So these aren't hot takes; these are pretty lukewarm takes. And then in the South, see, here's the take I want to make.
Mhm.
I really want to make the take that the Titans win the AFC South. Just that Cam Ward comes out and is immediately better than people expect him to be, and the rest of the team really wasn't as terrible as you thought it was. It was just really how awful their offense was last year.
Yeah.
But officially, I'm going to say the Texans win, followed by Titans, Jags, Colts, and that one's actually pretty close to the top three.
Okay. I think that I got the Titans. I think they're gonna go about 8 and 9 this year.
Yep.
And honestly, what's holding me back? I think their offense has the potential to be as good as any offensive with a rookie quarterback in the NFL. I just think the defense. I look at the depth chart and I can't name anyone on the defensive line besides Jeffrey Simmons. It's a little rough.
Yeah, last year I thought their defense played a lot better than you would have guessed, but their offense just could not keep the ball.
No.
It was just they were a terrible team to watch. Also, so I have them as like the sneaky that Cam Ward's actually way better than anyone's giving him credit for because Cam Ward's the number one overall pick that just is not getting any play anywhere for anything.
Yeah.
He went to
Yeah.
the Titans and everyone's just like who I don't remember them. Um, but I think they can be sneaky good. Maybe with your NFC predictions.
Okay, so I did. This was pretty stagnant, and so it's pretty safe. I'll be honest, it's safe. Maybe I have some hot takes on who makes the wild card, but I have the Niners winning the West. I'm not one to like look at previous schedules and be like, oh, they have the easiest schedule because teams change so much. But damn, the Niners have an easy schedule, like very very easy. And I don't know. I think that they're maybe they've been injured in some places, but I think that they tend to flip flop, and I think this is a year they do well. I got the Eagles breaking the repeat NFC East winner curse and repeating, um, and I have the Packers unfortunately winning the North in a close one, and then I have the Bucks in the South. I like Baker Mayfield,
Yeah.
and I don't think the Panthers have taken quite enough step to win, but I think it's close between them and the Bucks.
You don't think the Saints are going to pull off a miracle?
Anything can happen.
Yeah. Here's the okay. So that with the NFC, I think that the Commanders win the East. Um, but the Eagles are right on their heels, and then the Giants, and then the Cowboys. I actually have the Cowboys finishing last in that division.
Me too.
Um, yeah, I don't trust the Cowboys as a whole. I think their offense is going to be fine, but as a whole, I don't think they're built as a team that is going to be competitive throughout the whole season.
Yeah, in an East that's gotten better.
Yeah. For the North, I have the Lions winning again, followed by the Bears actually, and then the Packers, Vikings.
Okay, I think they're all going to be pretty close. I think that we'll get into why I have a lot of faith in the Packers to win. Maybe not a lot of faith, but why I think they'll win. Um, I think that both the North and the West are going to be very close and very good divisions. I think the AFC and NFC West are going to be the two best divisions this year,
Mm-hmm.
and not just in regular football, but I think in fantasy as well. But what I like about the where was I going? Oh, never mind. I do want to mention a quick hot take. I think the Commanders missed the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you think it was just like the do you okay? Let me see. How do you envision it? Do you think the last year was a one-hit wonder and they're like not the team that they portray, or do you think that the rest of the conference even is just good enough to hold them out?
I think it's that. I think they have a harder schedule. I think they go 9-8. I think they're still going to be really good. I just have, and this maybe is a hot take too. I have a lot of faith in the Giants' defense,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's potential that at the very least they split between the Commanders and Giants, but the Giants could sweep the Commanders. There's that front seven of the Giants is, I think, top three, if not the best. It could be the best in all football. I like their secondary. I do have a lot of faith in the offense being more competent this year. And I like Jackson Dart. He could be something, and Russell Wilson could have something in the tank. So I think the Commanders will be better than the Giants, but maybe just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. I wanted to hear more about what you're going to say about the Packers.
Okay, yeah. So
So
this
jump
is a
back.
good segue. Because so maybe this is a hot take, but this is my MVP prediction, and I think MVP is either going to be Joe Burrow, or Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that as a Bears fan, but I think people are both over and underreacting to Jordan Love in the sense that, and this kind of blows my mind. This is Jordan Love's second year starting week one in the league. This is his second. I mean, he obviously is his third year starting and his like sixth year overall.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the confidence and the poise he showed from his very first year starting 2 years ago. Like he started out kind of rough, it wasn't consistent, and then he just something clicked, and he was so good over the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And again, last year he started out hurt, so he missed a few games, and he had to come back from that injury. It was a tough injury to adjust to, and he still looked. I just think that Jordan Love has it. I think that he is a really solid MVP choice in the sense that he can really just carry this offense, a decently talented offense to the playoffs. And I don't know. I hate the Packers, hate them, but I do like Jordan Love as a person and a player. And there's this gut feeling that he will be seen as an MVP because he can just really carry an offense.
I'm shocked you're saying that, but I'm not overly shocked at this pick because I think earlier on in the year I talked about Jordan Love as being one of those candidates to jump. I am ranked my number 8 QB. Now, what brought him down in my ranks is the Jaden Reed injury because I really also expected Jaden Reed to finally pull ahead and become the wide receiver one in this room. I liked a lot of the stuff he was pulling. I'm into that when these receivers going out and they're betting on themselves, bringing out
Yeah.
agents and stuff. But with that said, I could see it. I have a hard time seeing him being MVP simply because the big names are still out there. But I mean, we've seen voters go both ways on that. Like, do they vote for Josh Allen again? Do they vote for Lamar again? Do they vote for Joe Burrow because they think he should have won it, or do they go with someone new? They just get this whole entire voting fatigue for these guys.
I agree. I think that there is some voting fatigue with Jackson and maybe not Allen, but then Mahomes in there as well. I think because of that, they might pivot to the NFC. And I think Jordan Love just has the potential to jump into that conversation as the best quarterback in the NFC.
And he's clearly on a team that they love to put MVPs on. So
exactly. And as a Bears fan, I hate to say that, and I think the Bears. I feel like my gut feeling is the Bears just feel like the most 9-8 team. And I feel this way about the Raiders too. I think they're both going to be really good offensively, maybe mediocre to good defensively. They just feel like 9-8 teams that are almost on the cusp of breaking out, but don't quite make it, which is a great place to be.
No, I'm not overly optimistic on the Raiders season just because of how hard that division is in general. Like, if this is a good, like, if you had put the Raiders in the AFC South, I would be feeling a lot better right now. But when you look over, you see the ascending Chargers, ascending Broncos, and the Chiefs who just can't seem to die, who are trying to go out on top for Kelsey's engagement year.
You could,
the whole entire thing.
Yeah. Oh, so I was going to ask, is Joe Burrow your MVP pick?
He would. I don't want to answer that yet because I think that if Joe Burrow is my MVP pick, it's not because he's necessarily heads and shoulders above the rest. I think he can do and be part of that elite echelon and be in that mix somewhere and get it simply because they recognize that he should have had it last year.
Yeah.
And I think the voters do that when they're like, "Oh, we got it wrong. We got to put a little bit of a finger on the scale for one of these guys."
I mean, they did it last year with Josh Allen.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that like the betting odds should be Joe Burrow anyways.
Yeah.
Let me think about that. I'll get back to you by the end of the episode on MVP overall. Because right now I'll talk about NFC South. NFC South. So see, here's the thing. If I'm going safe, easy picks, and I'm not saying that this is all by choice a safe, easy pick, but in my heart, I feel like the Panthers make that jump. And the NFC South is turbulent. There's this turbulent division historically that hasn't been because the Buccaneers have been dominating it recently.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see hopeful competence from another team and maybe two teams if the Falcons actually look okay. I'm doubtful with the loss of their right tackle, but
yeah.
That losing your blindside tackle right before the season starts, that sucks.
Is it his? Well, I mean, Penix is left-handed, so maybe it's.
It's the right tackle, yeah. So it's the right tackle.
So
where the left tackle is normally the most important. The right tackle on that team, and the backup to the right tackle is out for 6 weeks too. So
great.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm putting it Panthers, Bucks, Falcons, Saints, with the Saints just being the complete dumpster fire of the year.
I hate to piggyback on teams where everyone's gonna be like, oh, they're gonna be the worst team in the league. I think the Saints probably will. I also think the Colts are going to be really bad. I think Colts like worse than the Browns bad.
That's intense. I could see why you'd say that, but yeah, no, it's hard for me to say anything. I have excitement for some of the players in the Colts as far as fantasy goes, but as far as like as an actual team, I have a hard time seeing them win. You're right.
I feel like their ceiling is, and I make this comparison because you can make the comparison of Tyler Warren to Brock Bowers, but I feel like their ceiling is the Raiders last year.
That's not great. Trust me,
it's not
great.
But
I think Daniel Jones is a little bit better than Gardner Minshew was last year. But
I agree. I think the Colts just to tangent here, but I think the Colts, they've been really well known for their O-line, but they lost two of their best players, and their offense as a whole is just kind of mediocre. Their defense, like people hype it up, but DeForest Buckner can only be good for so long, and they lost some of their pass rushers. It's dicey, but I do agree with you about the Falcons. I just think they're going to be awesome in fantasy, and I hope so because I got Bijan. But I just think that their ceiling is capped, and their defense it needs another year at least.
At least it was bad last year. And they did draft some defensive players, but I don't think it's enough to make as significant an impact as they need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Penix is going to have an actual playbook in front of him, and we'll see how that works. Like last year, he looked good because it was chuck the ball to Drake London, let Bijan run the rest. This year, they're going to have to be more varied.
And there was less pressure because he was walking into a situation where it's like, we've seen enough Kirk Cousins. We need any kind of change. So there wasn't that same level of pressure that a normal rookie quarterback would have.
NFC West, I'm giving the Rams the nod. And this is even with Matt Stafford's potential back issues. I am assuming even if Matt Stafford misses time with a back issue, I still think the Rams can win this. I just trust Sean McVay. Yeah. And then I'm going Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals in that order.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question about that. I will say I have the Seahawks last. Again, I say that I'm predicting they're going to be 8-9. I think that the defense for the Seahawks could be really awesome. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. Just hate the offense. Hate the offense compared to what it was last year. I'll say that. Okay. My hot take here, I think the Cardinals make the playoffs.
That's fair because the Cardinals are the team that I'm least confident in the ranking for anyways. Is like at the end there, they're not really there because of the strength of their team, but the strength of the other teams. And that's always the team where I'm like, well, that's a bright spot for a potential upset, right? Like, the Cardinals, they don't excite me, but I think that they have a good team. Where I'm more concerned about the Cardinals is their defense. I don't know how it is at this like.
I have faith in Steve Gannon. I think that they have their rookie pass rusher Demarcus Robinson missed most of last year. They have Josh Sweat, who was incredible in the Super Bowl. I think that Will Johnson, shout out myself, I think that he was a steal in the second round, and he seems fully healthy. We saw what Gannon did for the Eagles during their first Super Bowl run earlier this decade, and I don't think Kyler Murray's one of the best quarterbacks, but even if he's as good as Brock Purdy, the other weapons on this offense are enough to make up for his shortcomings, I think.
I hate to ask this question. Yeah, I was like, is shortcomings a pun? Do I have to? I think that I don't know. The Cardinals are this team that like I don't necessarily love ranking because I can see them just being pretty bad or being pretty good, but the way they're pretty good is the most boring way in the world. Is if their run game once again works really well and their defense is competent. That's where they could be a good team, and this is like similar to the Chargers mold, where you just want to run the ball really. Like you do have Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., but the weak link there's Kyler and his ability to not get the ball to him, because I think when he's on it. It's his ability to stay consistent in the side of an offense.
Consistent, yeah.
Because it's not like Kyler Murray's a bad player. He just doesn't keep it all on the field at all the times. It's like it's a cliche, and it's almost like just a trope at this point to say that his mental game isn't all there. But I don't know how else you would describe this.
Well, he is one of the most volatile quarterbacks in the league. I think that's not even a subjective take. I think just looking at the stats, I think it's in watching him, I think it's a pretty objective take.
That Call of Duty joke everyone makes is funny, but also like it happens to be so accurate. It's disgusting.
With the release of Call of Duty coinciding with his season not being as good.
Yeah. He just like his trajectory, like stat wise and efficiency wise, just tanks.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's actually playing Call of Duty, but it's more so like past that first 2 months of the season or whatever, month and a half of the season, something just unclicks.
I mean, putting that clause in his contract that he's required to watch a certain amount of film is kind of crazy. Passive aggressive, and it's I don't know. It's interesting. It says something.
But okay. So having the Cardinals make the playoffs, that is a hot take, but it's not like the most unnecessary. Like you're just saying it to make a hot take. I can see the path there. It's just a path that I don't love watching. So I don't want to bet on it.
I think my hottest take that I don't necessarily believe, but I could throw out there is that the Titans win the South.
I love that take because one, it'd be fun, and two, the South is honestly just a bad division. There's a chance for a team to step up here, but like the Texans won it easily last year, and we saw how CJ Stroud and that offense fell apart.
Yeah. I do want to say I think the offense will. I have faith in a CJ Stroud bounce back, but the O-line has gotten worse, the run game has gotten worse, and the receiving core has stayed the same.
If Nick Chubb is actually the RB1 for the Texans, that run game is going to be it's going to be Dallas Cowboys levels bad. And it's not that I don't like Nick Chubb, but I just can't see him coming out and dominating in any way, shape, or form. He's going to be an easy 1-for-1 with Javonte Williams. Texas in general is going to have a hard time running the ball.
And I think about it. Also, Nick Chubb comes from the Browns, where he's played with an elite O-line at both Cleveland and I want to say Georgia as well. So his entire collegiate and professional career, he's been around a great O-line, and now he's playing with probably the worst in the league. That's something that will affect your mental and your physical.
100%. I mean, this guy's got to be 100% just running on juice that he's back in the league.
Yeah.
Shout out Dameon Pierce, this man with all the opportunity in the world, who's definitely not going to take advantage of it. Gosh darn it! I wanted him to be a thing so bad. But this is not me saying he will be a thing. I want to be very clear about that. I can't see Dameon Pierce making a dent, unfortunately, even though it's all there for him. Okay, so
let's see. I did want to get maybe into just some rapid fire, maybe like predictions or like a couple little things of fantasy here. But I do want to talk about one more team from both a fantasy perspective and also real life.
Okay.
One that's really hard for me to gauge because of injuries, because of newness. It's the Chargers. I want to know your thoughts if this offense is really going to be, if it's going to be peak this year or it's going to be mid, and what do you think their likely outcome is for them in the division?
I think the likely outcome for them in the division is number 3, but that's because it's a strong division. I could
Yeah,
see the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos all making the playoffs in an edge case.
yeah,
This is a Razors fan, man. It sucks to say that, but this is just the truth of it. As I could see those 3, but all of making the playoffs. What I think concerns me the most, and this has been offset in different ways, is that offensive line in losing their star tackle is really bad for this team for the way that they want to win.
yeah,
This is going to really test Harbaugh's commitment to making Justin Herbert a Hall of Fame quarterback.
yeah,
Because you've got Greg Roman in there and he wants to run the ball. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what they want to do, and they
yeah.
want to rely on the defense. The defense is okay, pretty good, good, okay-ish. It's not.
Did it get better though? I don't think it got better.
No, I don't have any reason to think it got better per se, but it was okay. It did give up a lot of big plays, but then you have this offense that got worse just through losing the tackle, but got simultaneously. This is where it gets confusing, right? Because they lost the tackle, so they've lost the blocking, but the skill position got so much better at running back, going from J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards to Amari and Hampton and Najee. Like Amari and Hampton being there at all is
Yeah,
a
huge.
phenomenal upgrade. And then with wide receivers, you get Keenan Allen back to go along with Lad McConkey. If they win, I think that their passing output is going to be significantly higher than it was last year through the whole season. And so I think that if we're talking fantasy, I think that I'm more in on the pass catchers, especially because Lad McConkey seems like he's fallen a little bit with the addition of Keenan Allen, and I'm okay with that. Like if you're getting him at the 2-3 turn now,
it's good. It's solid. Yeah.
But I still think they finished 3rd in the AFC West, and they're either a 10-win team or an 8-win team. I don't think I see a ton of variance with this particular squad.
I think you just echoed all my thoughts. I think they're going to go 9-8 like the Raiders and just barely miss. It's a really good division.
It is. It's because if they were in the AFC South, I'd be like, oh, they're clear head and shoulders above. The difference between the 10 and the 8 wins for me is going to be how they do against Broncos and the Chiefs.
Exactly.
Do they get swept by one of them or do they not?
Yeah, and I think I agree. You just pulled it right out of my brain.
They're very similar to the Broncos for me. The Broncos are just a little less risky because they haven't had big losses and they've had gains on both sides of the ball. So like their roster has gotten better at a more significant pace than the Chargers roster has gotten better. And so that's why I'm like, okay, now we're going to see the Broncos bounce above. I really despise Sean Payton, but man, he's going to do fine.
my hot take is I think that the Broncos make it to the AFC Championship, which I feel like a lot of people are just kind of maybe overhyping them or getting a little too excited, but I think it could happen because of their defense. I still think the Ravens, I think this is the Ravens' year. But I think that the Broncos could get in the right situation based on matchup to like make that leap.
Yeah. But I've heard a lot of people bring up the Chargers as one of the potential championship teams, and I personally, I don't see it yet. I think that they can continue to get better. I don't think they're at this this is their window. I think their window is like if you think their window's open right now, it's just cracking open in my mind.
Yeah, they can keep going. They got a youngish quarterback. I mean, they're not in rebuild mode by any means, but they're not in a mode where they're like they have aging veterans that they need to win now. Like they're in a good place.
I think that if the Ravens were to have had a year, it would have been last year. I'm just saying. They won in 2000. They won in 2012. It should have been 2024. But they cheated. The refs cheated the Chiefs into the.
I mean, the Ravens haven't really upgraded a whole lot, but they haven't downgraded at all. They're very similar team to last year, and
last year they're great.
I just want something new.
No, that's fair. I don't know. The Ravens are one of those teams for me. I know that they've won, but they always feel like they are there to lose in the playoffs. This is unfortunate. I have like 3 of these teams. Okay, so it's the Ravens, it's the Bengals, and it's the Falcons. I don't care how good they do; they're made to just lose in the playoffs if they make it there.
Yeah, the
And
Bengals.
it's unfair for the Ravens, but the Bengals and the Falcons, I feel like that's okay. I don't feel like that's a hot take.
No, the Bengals got lucky that one year. Not that they're bad, but that was a lot of luck.
I mean, here's the thing: their offense is amazing, but their defense is so awful, and their GM does not know what they don't know how to build a defense apparently because they don't know how to pay players. So they're never going to be good if they can't figure this out.
No, I think now that they did re-sign Trey Hendrickson. I think like 70% of their total roster is like for 4 players,
which is awesome because that means in about 2 years they're going to really suck. So get ready for your window that's barely open right now to shut fast. Sorry, Bengals fans, if you're listening.
Shout out Ohio.
Yeah, shout out Ohio. I mean, you get to see Cleveland and Cincinnati can change places on who's the worst team in the league a few times coming up soon.
I want to ask you, Nick, who is your pick for offensive player of the year?
My pick for offensive player of the year, I am going to say, and I'm thinking about this because I don't. This is a big one for me because I think this is usually your best running back of the year, essentially. Yeah. It could be a receiver too. Don't get me wrong. I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's a good pick. I like that pick. I think that would be probably one of my predictions up there. My gut, and this is a gut feeling. It doesn't make any sense logically for really any reasons, but Puka Nacua is offensive player of the year.
I love that. If he's the offensive player of the year, I love that. Trust me, I'm in it.
I like this pick a lot, though. I think that if he takes over as the clear alpha in that backfield and he proves he can do it without Ben Johnson, I think that's a slam dunk offensive player of the year. He's going to be great this year. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think I'm super in on Jahmyr. I don't think that he has to fully take over for that to happen either. If he gets up to like 65 or 70 and it's more than these drive swaps that they do, I think you'll see enough of it. That's putting still a lot of faith in the Lions to maintain.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. The MVP. I'm gonna go back to the MVP because I didn't answer before. Because Joe Burrow is who I think is the most likely to get it for sure. But if you want to know who, see, I'm really digging deep on this one because I like my heart is telling me like 2 answers and I'm like that's so ridiculous. But
let's hear it.
You ready for this? You're gonna hate this one.
I got a bit of a wild one too, so I'm excited to hear yours.
I think this. I think it might be Baker Mayfield.
I don't think that's crazy. I'm
feeling it like with this wide receiver setup that he's got and just Baker's his media persona. Everyone loves this guy. They're gonna want to vote him in, and he's gonna have probably a great year.
And exactly, and if you look at who the MVP is always a quarterback, but it's an MVP that's on a great offense. And the Bucs, I mean, they have the weapons to be a great offense.
And I know I said that I could see the Panthers winning the division, but I it's for different reasons.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking about it. I still think it's going to be Joe Burr or Jordan Love. Mm-hmm. If I want to do just a really wild pick that's not named Caleb Williams, and this throws out everything I made about the NFC East predictions, but Dak Prescott. He's been close.
If the Cowboys end up like 13-4, like I wouldn't be that shocked.
He's got a great duo, and they're going to be throwing the ball so much. I think he's my prediction to lead the league in passing yards. So if you just look at it that way, who knows?
I could, again, if they end up with a strong if they end up with like a really strong offense and a great record at the end of the year, he's strong as candidate as anyone.
Yeah.
I would be real here. I think I'm just mad at Ohio for some reason.
We all are sometimes.
The Baker pick, I really want it to happen so that way the Browns can say they've gotten rid of an MVP quarterback.
I would love that. Yeah.
I just love it specifically for that reason, just the level of spite that could happen.
Deshaun Watson comes out at the end of a season and like ruptures his spleen, and then Baker Mayfield wins MVP. I would love that.
It would be one of the most ridiculous outcomes. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna throw this one out for you.
Yeah.
Who do you think, non-quarterback, who do you think leads the league in overall touchdowns?
Okay. Overall touchdowns. I mean, my gut feeling here would be a running back. And you got to look at like at least a running back or a player on a really good to great offensive line, I think. It's hard to say. And you mean like receiving or rushing, not like throwing, right?
Yeah. No throwing. Get it.
Yeah. I mean, I have him in fantasy, so I want to say Bijan. I mean, this is a crazy take, and this plays into your Baker Mayfield narrative and kind of throws out some things we said before out the window. But I mean, Bucky Irving he's getting used a lot in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if he ends up being a receiving option down near the goal line too, I can see that.
Yeah,
it could be both.
I don't say he's my pick. He was like one of my first instincts, but I could see it happening. Honestly, I could maybe go a little safer here, based on talent and lack of competition, and say CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
that would be yeah. He'd have a hell of a year as a receiver if he was leading the league in touchdowns too. But he can do it. Like that's the player who could do it.
Yeah.
I was thinking Chase Brown.
Ooh, I like that. Spicy.
Yeah, and that's where I could also see Joe Burrow losing out on the MVP talks. His touchdowns dip because Chase Brown's increase.
But he's gonna be throwing so many. He's gonna be throwing so many to Chase Brown.
It could be a little bit both too. But I feel like you got to take some of those goal line touchdowns away.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if it is Chase Brown, then that will prove a lot of things that we've said.
Yeah, it's true.
Why should be Chris Rodriguez? Jesus Christ.
That would be. You know what? But though that would be wonderful for fantasy because you would have this late round pick that would definitely boost a ton of teams into relevancy.
Oh yeah.
That would just be fun. My favorite pick, if this happened, would be my absolute favorite thing to watch would be Tyler Warren.
If
it's not going to happen, there's no way. But
yeah, you know what? It could also I could see Brock Bowers just because Geno passes so much. I mean, who knows? Anything can happen, but it's gonna be a dynamic player on a good enough offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I always think like with Jamal Williams on that Lions year, right? Like they weren't the number one best team in the league that year. That was before this all like descendants really happened. But this is where Chris Rodriguez really could be the dude.
He's got a similar profile, that goal line back.
Jordan Mason's he actually ends up being the guy, who knows. But yeah, I know we said we talk more about risers and fallers. Maybe like mention a little bit of that during the news. Do you have anyone who's fallen significantly for you?
Let me think about.
Let's get rid of injuries, like not injury wise, just
not injury wise. Well, I mean, Caleb Johnson is the obvious one, but he's gradually been like kind of slipping a bit for me. Thinking about like a player that like maybe was getting drafted high or considered to be an important part of an offense, and maybe there's some ambiguity. I want to say. Let me think about this. Who do you got?
I'm also thinking about. So I've talked about AJ Brown in the past. I still feel pretty out on AJ Brown, but he didn't really fall for me because that's where he was.
Yeah.
Kyron's fallen a little bit for me because of the Matt Stafford back injury, but that's also injury related.
Yeah.
That whole offense scares me a little bit more. I think for me personally, the player that's fallen the most, and this is a player I did like a lot, is Kenneth Walker III.
Nice.
And
good to hear it.
Yeah, and that's not because of his talent, because I still think I'm in on his talent very, very significantly, but just these reports that they're liking Zach Charbonnet more and more and more, and because of availability in training camp, not necessarily for the games, they're feeling more confident with Zach Charbonnet, which makes all the sense in the world for me. So I just worry that the split's becoming larger and larger, and Kenneth Walker's falling to the point where I don't necessarily want him in round 3 or 4 anymore. You
And then
need to
he
fall to
like,
like 5 or 6.
yeah, he could be a steal later on, but like that, I was looking at his stats after the bye week last year, and he like missed half the games, and his best performance was like 20 points, and then he had a couple 12 points and like a 4. It was just kind of all over the place. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I really think this is a big jump year for Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, and if even it's a little jumpier for Zach Charbonnet.
It's enough, yeah. I think a player that's fallen for me a bit, and this is kind of a cop out because it's a bit injury related, is Devon Achan,
Mm-hmm.
and partially because I was so high on him before, but also because I'm really liking what I've been hearing out of camp and maybe just seeing in the preseason out of Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright. I still really think Ollie Gordon could be a legit NFL running back. I think that he was just so good at Oklahoma State 2 years ago. And if there's any question about Achan's health, or even if there's not, even if he's healthy, I think that Gordon could be like
They really need a second back. They showed when they had that successful year with Raheem Mostert is that just having
exactly,
that second back really elevates that offense.
exactly.
And Jalen Wright's already hurt again, so. But for me, Devon Achan, so he's expected to play week 1 with a calf strain. But I do hate seeing players that are expected to play before the season starts. That
You're
scares me. I'm
talking
like,
about, yeah, yeah.
this isn't. Yeah, but I can follow that.
Oh, I was going to say, I got one more. Actually, I have a great response to this question, and this is kind of it's a controversial one. Maybe I want to throw it out there. Oddly enough, because he went up a bit for me with Joe Flacco starting, but I'm dropping David Njoku a bit because of Harold Fannin Jr.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, he was prolific at Bowling Green. Like I think he led the league, like or all of college football in receiving yards or touchdowns or receptions or
Something
something last year.
crazy like
Not as a
tight
tight
end
end,
doing that. Yeah.
but as a player, yeah. And it just seems like they used draft capital on him. I could just see him taking over of a tight end one spot in Cleveland.
That's fair. That's a good one. He got used in the preseason. Like you've seen some touchdowns from him if you've seen any
Yeah.
of the highlights from the Browns. Okay. Here's the question I think that I wanted to ask and get to the most, because I do have an answer. So I'll give mine first if you need a second.
Okay.
Not your overall NFL fantasy or your overall NFL MVP, but who's your dark horse fantasy MVP? This is a player that maybe we haven't discussed much, or even you see him kind of out, not being talked about a lot, but he
Mm-hmm.
can provide that value that really just boosts these teams.
Okay. I think I'm kind of getting one here, but who do you say?
Okay, so mine is on a team that we just discussed could be bad, but I really think that we're there's a potential we see a return to form. It's someone who's had a wide receiver 1 caliber season prior.
Uh-huh.
He is on a team that could be down a lot. He is in a wide receiver room that, while maybe it looks good on paper, clearly needs someone to step up.
Uh-huh.
It's Jalen Waddle.
That's funny you say that because I've been high on him the past couple of years and I'm kind of burnt out on him. But the only reason I'm burnt out on picking him is because he's let me down. But that's
Mm-hmm.
not because of his talent. It's just because
Mm-hmm.
of his situation around him. I like that pick. He could. I mean, he definitely could. If Tyreek Hill's washed, if he's gone, injured, and two is healthy, or even one of the quarterbacks is competent. Like before it was shattered the following year, or like a couple years later by Puka. He set the record for most receptions by a rookie wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
I
something.
I don't think talent is like necessarily an issue for him. It's just been this whole entire team and scheme fit. But with Devon Achan potentially having issues with injury, Jonnu Smith gone, Tyreek Hill. I put so little stock in Tyreek Hill personally at this point because of
Yeah.
his interviews, the fact that he could be washed. He had a terrible season last year. Like he hurt his wrist, but he doesn't look like he's working on anything this year.
Yeah.
I just feel like the world is open for Jalen, and if he wants to have that career he could have with his skill,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna need to start this year.
It could. I like that. I like that pick. I kind of have two guys, and one of them I am hesitant to say because it kind of negates what I've been saying about him all season. But I'll start with the other guy, and I took this guy kind of high in fantasy, whatever. I think Trey Benson, just because the Cardinals emphasize the run game so much, and he was, oh, I think he was a player I was thinking of earlier that had played at Oregon that transferred to Florida. Anyway, maybe I'm confused. Anyway, Trey Benson, I just think that he burned me last year in fantasy. He burned a lot of people, but it's not that he was bad last year. He just didn't get the chance to play because Connor was healthy, and Connor historically hasn't been healthy. So I think that if he's given the opportunity, he could deliver. And the other guy, this is kind of like more akin to the Jaden Waddle pick, and I hate to say it, but just based on the ambiguity of the backfield and just based on what we've seen from him in the past, it's Debo.
I knew it. I actually knew you were going to make this pick.
Yeah.
I knew it as soon as you said it wasn't. Yeah. Okay.
Why can't he be the goal line back that gets all the touchdowns? Why can't he be the wide receiver one that, kind of usurps, at least temporarily, Terry McLaurin while Terry's getting reacclimated to this offense? Like,
I think I told you that the 49ers terrible season last year in my mind was predicted just by how they lost the Super Bowl, and that this team was going to be a defeated team last year, and they clearly were a defeated team last year. And I think Debo, you can tell by his on-field antics, clearly was part of that defeat. Like, he was mad, he hated this team, wasn't a part of it anymore. What if he goes to Washington and finds another group that he really finally he loves and he can get involved with again, and he actually plays at that 100%?
Yeah,
with where he's going, that could be a winner.
It's a big if, but if he stays healthy and Jacoby Krosky-Merritt and Austin Eckler are disappointing, then Debo is clearly the beneficiary of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do like that. I don't know that I have a second off the top of my head. I was really excited to talk about Jalen Waddle just for this one purpose because I think he could really blow up, and people will be like, "Oh, we all should have saw that coming."
Could be.
Yeah, because I mean, the only other option that I would love to make this pick, but the schedule does freak me out a little bit, is Tyrone Tracy.
I just
the schedule's too bad. Like they're going against. It's not even. I'm worried about other teams' defenses, which you could be with the schedule. I'm worried about how much they're going to have to air the ball out, because otherwise, I think that his skill and his placement is like it's too low, and I don't Scatabo and whatever's going on with his injury and not missing all his time as a rookie in training camp and preseason. I'm out on Scatabo this year for that reason.
Me too. Yeah.
And Tracy just needs to fix the fumbling issue, and we're good.
He can catch passes, and there is a world where Jackson Dart is the fantasy sleeper that no one's talked about.
That world would be so weird if Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston got out of the way for Jackson Dart immediately. Just New York's hogging all these backup quarterbacks all of a sudden.
Who knows?
They should have had Kenny Pickett. Sorry, I'm angry about this.
I mean, Jameis Winston on the Raiders would be too much. That's like too much fun. I don't know about that.
I don't think that there's a Blitnikoff clause that the Raiders have that if someone's been accused of sexual assault, they can't be allowed on the team.
I don't know.
There's they have a foundation based on this. Anyways,
the Raiders, really.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. People are like they're criminals. I'm like, but we actually. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. Otherwise, I'd be in. Yeah, I don't think that I have anything else for you, Willie.
I don't think so either. I'm excited for your draft. Hear about your draft. I'm excited for the start of the season. Next week we're going to talk about just kind of our week one discourse predictions, perhaps. Maybe we can talk a little bit about like players that are on the fringe of being in your flex and who I would start over. And week one is that week where you finally get a chance to let out your hot takes and have maybe some semblance of confidence.
Yeah, so we'll have our we record on Wednesdays and we release on Thursdays. If you're watching on YouTube, we also release on Wednesdays because it's live. You're going to see not us talking about what's happened in any of the games because we'll be recording before the games. We'll talk more about solid what you are looking for in each of these games.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun. I'm super excited for it. I'm like so ready for the season to start.
It's Sunday. I'm so yeah.
Yeah, I'm like the time has started slowing down again, which is weird for me, especially I got the 2 little kids. So when time starts slowing down, I'm like, oh man, my hype levels must be off the charts.
I'm excited for your oldest to watch football this year.
Yeah, me too. He said he was excited about it, which is the first year. Like 2 years ago, every time I'd wake up on Sunday, they'd all be super upset, and they'd be like, "Oh no cartoons." Well, the other one was like a teeny baby, but now this year they're both like, "Yeah, let's watch football, Dada!" And like, it was great. Okay, this is super segue side note, but at the beginning of this school session, the summer camp school session that they're in the preschool, they wouldn't wear the Raiders hats that I had for them. Like their family got the Raiders hats, right? Because they knew. And my oldest would only wear a Ducks hat, which was fine. That's absolutely fine. I got it at a game that he went to, so he loved it, right?
Perfect.
Over the last 2 weeks, they've only been wearing the Raiders hats, and that was by their choice.
To school too?
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, I don't know what that means, and I'm sorry for you guys in the future because I think I just signed you up for like a lifetime of sorrow, but you know, you gotta have sorrow somewhere, and this is the best place to have it if you can.
You gotta stand out in the crowd once you get into school. You gotta stand out, and wearing a Raiders hat is a wonderful way to stand out.
You're like, why would you like them? I don't get that at all. Especially with we're in Eugene, so you've got 2 Ducks quarterbacks in the conference with them or in the division with them. You know, Justin Herbert and Bo Nix there. Anyway, yeah. So I'm excited for this as well. Willie, we'll talk.
We'll talk
very soon. We'll catch up. You'll catch us here next week if you're watching. Otherwise, doink out.
Doink out.